Tom Box, and welcome to the damage report. So every ban list, of course, we do a damage report. If this is your first time here, make sure you guys hit the subscribe and ding that notification bell to see what are some of the major changes in the upcoming format, and we can even look at some of the top tier potential. Their potential, a lot of the stuff on this list is very, very good, and potentially could just win events entirely, but we'll get to that when we do. First of all, we're going to have to take a quick review at the list. For banned cards, we have Fairy Tail Snow, Ronin Totem, Crystal Hulky Vibrax, Pepega Ruler, and the Red Reboot. All very, very high impact cards, and basically taking a back seat from now on because they're no longer playable. For the limited cards, most of these cards are released from the ban list from Cyberjar, which we've called out in our previous ban list prediction, Steam the Cloak, and O-Line, mainly due to Crystal Hulky Vibrax being banned, Substitute being released because of Ronin Totem's ban, and Spellbook of Judgment was one card that we did not expect, but I'll get into more details when we go to the top tier potential, and a Point of the Red Lotus, another card from basically the side deck, much like Red Reboot. As for cards being semi-limited, there's 0 for this list, and for cards coming back to 3, we have Fusion Destiny, which is, wow, where did this come from? I think it's because they reprinted the DPE in the tin. So Fusion Destiny is available for everyone. Hero players are definitely going to rejoice getting that consistency back. And then we have the Dynamite Knight, another card that we called for returning to 3 because no one's really playing True Draco at this moment. Ben 10 to 3, maybe Drytrons are going to see a little bit more play now. I'm pretty sure that's going to give him a lot more consistency and the ability to spam Natasha. Shooting Riser Dragon, I think this is because the combo with Shooting Riser kind of stemmed from Hulky Vibrax summoning the Red Draggy. But that's the rundown of the list. There's going to be winners, there's going to be losers. Let's take a look at who they are. So for the winners and losers of this ban list, I think the winners, I should have included Mystic Mind because Mystic Mind did not take a hit. It's kind of a necessary evil, and most people already know how to play around it. I'm guessing that's the justification. It sucks to play against it, I would have to say, but regardless, it is still in our format. As for our winners, we have Trickstar. Trickstar's at full power. You can expect Runic Trickstar, maybe old school Trickstar Sky Striker. We do have Scapegoat back at 3. I mean, with this big of an extra deck pool now, there could be some options there, especially if you want to play with Runic as well. Next, we also have the Dynamite Knight, True Draco, not at full power yet. We need that Masterpiece. Is Masterpiece next on the list? Who knows? DPE. I think the DPE package is now shovable again. I think this is mainly due to tins, of course. You know, you got the DPE stuff. And let's just say Fusion Destiny prices definitely shot up because of it being going back up to 3. As for the true winner of something that didn't really take any significant hit, I would say is Tearlament. Tearlament definitely keeping its top spot in the game. As for losers, Snow Hulk, Ronin Totem, and of course Pepega Ruler. These are all major hits because they are either free extenders, recyclable bodies, and follow-up. Like that would go for Ronin Totem and the Chaos Ruler. And there are certain decks that require these cards to actually play their deck and their combo, and those decks are the ones that are in our report today. So let's get into report number 1. Sprite Frogs is going to be our first damage report here, losing only the Ronin Totem. You can consider Hulk as well, but Hulk, really, you're just losing the hand trap adding particular play. Or maybe if you want to play Baron, that's also an option. But in terms of deck repairs, there's no real repair. There's no replacement for the Ronin Totem. You don't want to use Substitute because Substitute, if it was level 2, then yes, I would do it. Konami, if you can errata Substitute to be level 2, that'd be great, because 1-for-1's limited and there's really very little options to get there. Because if you can get a free summon of it, then yes, you can turn 2 monsters into Swap Frogs, and that's great, but that's not an option right now. So the other way you can do it is you play an additional engine like Live Twins, or you can play Adventure Sprite, anything that can help you generate additional bodies like Nimble Anglers, or maybe just the Live Twin bodies themselves. It can really help out. You're gonna have to build a different kind of control deck, which is basically not negation based. I mean, the double Totally Awesome play, I would say, is a little overpowered if you're basically stuck eating it. But in this case, you lose the free Ronin Totem play, which means you need 3 bodies, and even with the 3-4 body one, it's not even ideal because it's much weaker to hand traps now. Let me explain. So to get to the entire Totally Awesome play now, it's still possible. You need 2 Swap Frogs. One needs to be revived from Sprite Elf, and the second one needs to be summoned from the Gigantic Sprite, or you free summon it from your hand, and that's good too. So, but essentially, you need 2 Swap Frogs. One activating effect is send one to the grave, and you need the Elf to revive it, which means when you get to the Gigantic gigantic sprite, you can no longer send away your Swap Frog to do the elf play. You need to use the other level 2 on the field and keeping that Swap Frog alive. So even with say you have a sprite red on the field, you have a gigantic sprite and another level 2, which is the Swap Frog, what would happen if you activated, say, the gigantic sprite and that was your Swap Frog? Unfortunately for you, if you send it away, that's it. If they go Ghost Ogre, Effect Veiler, whatever it is, and you have to send away that Swap Frog that's on the field, it's kind of GG for that particular play. You're gonna have to go down a different line, and that's just how it is. That's how we made Swap Frog after we get crowed or whatever. I mean, sorry, totally awesome, but here we are. But in terms of what you want to do, well, you can still go with Live Twin Sprite. If you go for the Nimble Angler play with the Adventure Sprite package, you just dump the Nimble stuff. You get 3 bodies. You're guaranteed to make the card anyway. However, once again, hand traps are going to sting a lot more now. So that is one of the key factors here. Let's hope that the changes in Darkwing Blast is going to give us a different way to play the deck. I think Live Twin Sprite kind of already played it in a different way of control, where you get to pop cards, draw cards. You're basically not fully relying on the Omni Negate properties of the Totally Awesome, but it is what it is. That's the damage. Now we're gonna probably get some form of bouncing plus negation. It's definitely not as good as the double Omni Negate and ruin your opponent's graveyard, but it's a way to recover, and I'm sure someone's going to readapt the build very soon. So for the damage report, of course, we have Fairy Tail Snow for the Danger Telements. I think that's the key monster here. Unless, of course, you were playing the Punk package. Well, then, rip, you lose way more because you're basically taking out your entire Punk package for a different tech line. Because if the Pega Ruler's not there to mill 5 cards, there's no point playing it. Luckily for you guys, Darkwing Blast is just around the corner, and you get Tearlament Scream, more Tearlament support for you guys. And I guess even in Photon Hypernova, you get another Tearlament monster. And even before that, you have Magnificent Mavens, which will give you the Ishizu stuff. I guess this is just a minor setback until you rebuild a different full power version of this deck. That's just my opinion. It's true, you can't deny it, and there's definitely going to be different ways for you to play this particular deck. But in terms of losing snow, how big of an impact is it? Well, you can see right there, there's 4 points that we're losing here. The quick effect of Book of Moon, this one is definitely the one that your opponent is going to notice more often than not, and it's going to be one of the more significant impact because it is a disruption you are losing. But as for your own use of snow, say you're using it as a level 4 body to make it exceeds, or maybe link 2s, then maybe an easy dweller is not that quick of an option for you. Making Zero Boros is a little bit more difficult. When your opponent's pushing, you're going to have a little less defense. You can still use Gizmek, I guess, but of course Gizmek is always like not your top priority. Zero Boros OTK can still happen because you still have Zero Boros, and with Zero Boros you can still like push for a very high amount of damage advantage. So combo losses, you're losing the best mill option. Typically Curious would send it to the grave. Now Curious will have to send something else. There are other hit targets as well, but they're just definitely not as reusable as Snow. And I guess extending into Daguerreus is a little bit harder as well. So in terms of consistency, it's a very minor hit, but in terms of impact, it's enough to feel the difference in every single game. Yeah, you just buy your time. You got new stuff coming up, Magnificent Mavens, Ishizu stuff, you've got Tearlament Scream, and you even got like Kashtira. Yes, it's Kashtira if you want to look it up. Kashtira Tearlament, you know, there's a lot of stuff coming up just to make the deck even better. So a slap on the wrist if you ask me. Before we continue with the damage report, check out mstmerch.com as we have dropped new merch available for you guys. We got 1 bundle and 4 new things. That's like 5 things, which is nibbable from the Ulti Instinct sleeve. They are beautiful, guys. Check it out. These are really, really sick. If you want the Ultra Instinct energy of Goku, get the Ulti Instinct sleeves, and also you can protect them with the Oversleeve bundle as well. And we have the NFT sleeves. We have some foil boost, and on top of that, we also have a new, I guess, a sorting product, which is the Subdivider, the Tab Subdivider, also available at mstmerch.com. These are all new drops. Appreciate you guys for checking it out and really help support the channel. And let's continue with the damage report. And the deck taking the most significant amount of damage has to be Dragon Link Adventure. I don't know what happened here, but every single hit in the ban impacted this deck, I would say, the most. Even if it was like a collateral damage for Dragon Link, I get that the deck was super powerful. I mean, it was super powerful during, I guess, Nats. that was a while ago, and that was like before the release of our current set. And let's just say Fairy Tale Snow was one of the cards they sent to the group pretty bad. In terms of deck repairs, there are definitely ways to repair the deck. Of course, it's Dragon Link. They've had probably the oldest arsenal in the entire game. I mean, you can look back to like 2018 probably, and you can probably find something useful from there. So Dragon Maid package, I know they currently don't play it, but they could fall back to Dragon Maid package. It's an option. Is it the best option? I don't know. They definitely need something to keep their card consistency going. I mean, you still have the Chaos Space package that's still available to them. They still have I guess linking around is gonna be a bit more awkward, especially when you can't get that free tuner. And the adventure package, what are you really synchroning? You're basically forcing a hard open of Red Rose Dragon, so that part's a bit weird. You can definitely go into the level 8 rank 8 package, maybe try out some Blue Eyes stuff. I think there's an option. I mean, Blue Eyes Jet Dragon's not that bad. There's also Grand Tusk Dragon, where if you do summon it out, say you tributed the Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres, if you tribute that off, I think you can summon out Grand Tusk Dragon. That gives you like another pop too. So there's definitely a lot of high value plays that you can still do in terms of building your board. Of course, it's not gonna be as like strong. I mean, without the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, it's definitely a bit harder for sure. Yeah, in terms of losses, Road Dragon access via Hulk, the Snow Mill from the Shooting Riser. You can't really use a level 1 in a Chaos Ruler to go into Hot Red. And yeah, lines are getting cut for free bodies. There's no gain for this deck, okay? You're just falling back onto older plays that are just a bit more consistent. It's a massive hit. I don't know what to say. I think the deck needs a bit of a rework to adapt to the current meta. And before I jump away, I guess another deck that took significant damage thanks to this has got to be Punkthyrian. Punkthyrian also played Chaos Ruler opening play right now. I almost want to, honestly, I almost want to bump Sprite down a list after playing it for maybe like 4 or 5 hours. It's definitely a bit of a struggle when it comes to like a hand trap heavy build. So anyways, top tier stuff. We have Tearlament Danger. Probably going to be one of the most successful decks, if not just Tearlaments in general, because of the Ishizu stuff as well coming out. Exorcisters, a strong counter match to Tearlament stuff, with the D-Shifter in the main deck. D-Shifter still at 3, making it also very, very powerful. Math Mech is also seeing a lot of success. I think people just don't know how to tackle against them. And with Red Reboot removed, Red Reboot was one of the cards that really killed the deck when it comes to like Super Factorio getting negated. Since that's gone, it definitely makes this deck a lot more playable in those matchups. Branded variants are also very, very strong, considering that Branded Fusion is still completely available. I mean, you can still see like Tearlament branded as an option. And then for Wanderees, again, once again, they have D-Shifter, so they're right there. Drytron now have 3 Ben 10. I can see that it is going to be a lot more abusable. I think there is a potential for people to actually really explore the options of Drytrons and putting it into top tier level once again. Then there's Sprite and alternative builds. I know someone's going to come up with something to make Sprites playable again, or maybe the new stuff from Darkwing Blast will put them back on the map. But as of right now, it's a little bit of a struggle. Maybe I'm just getting really bad draws. I hope that's just the case here. And as you can see, a little bit peeking over the edge, we have Kashtira. Yes, I'm going to call them Kashtira because I don't know, that's what the wiki says, that's what everything says. I'm just gonna call them by their potential TCG name right now. And post Photon Hypernova, that's probably where they're gonna stand. They're top tier material. They murder Tearlaments, they lock people's zones out, they flourish under Banish, they play D-Shifter themselves, and their bodies are big, and natural access to Fenrir is going to be a very significant part of this. I mean, this is the deck that everyone's dreading because it is a full zone lockdown. As they break your board, you will not be able to play. As for high tier potentials, we're looking at Eldritch builds. They're still really, really strong. Zombie is going to kind of wreck a lot of things. Zombie World is still very strong against a lot of these matchups. Sword Soul, I wouldn't have put Sword Soul like as a high tier potential until I saw my buddy Phil. Yes, Phil. You guys know who he is. Watched him play his variant. He plays Super Poly in his Sword Soul build, and he's been crushing it. I think he could have just won an entire event quite easily. And yeah, if you guys want that deck profile, I'll ask Phil if he wants to share it with us. And luckily for us, Sword Soul goes completely untouched, and even with the Super Poly stuff, it's going to be even stronger. So yeah, there's that. Therian variants, I think there's a high tier potential for them too. I think no one really explored the other Therian cards that we got from the recent set, so We'll figure out something about that. Runic builds, all very strong. Maybe you deal with Mind Runic. And there's also potential for a Synchro Runic build to just FDK you. So there's that. Heroes, D-Heroes, they're really strong. Trickstar being at full power. I really want to see where people are going to explore this. And Sun Avalon, of course, they're once again one of those high tier decks as well. Hidden Potential, Tri-Brigade, they're still around. They can play with the branded stuff as well. Labyrinth, do I know something that you guys don't? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. You'll find out sooner or later this week, I suppose. But Nishi did manage to top 8 at the OTS Store Championship. Given that he was playing Labyrinth, he basically went mostly undefeated all the way through. So I gotta give props to him for playing Labyrinth of all decks. Dealing with Danger, Tearlament, Sprites, whatever it is. True Draco's still around. Now here's the new deck on this list, Dogmatika Spellbook. Because we can turn things into Artemis and Spellbook cards can be activated quite easily, and you also have Nadir Servant, I think there's high potential here. Although there have been concerns about, you know what, isn't this deck kind of like a worse version of Flunderies to some degree, where if you're gonna lock people out with Jowgen, maybe not. I mean, there's that quick play disruption with Fate that doesn't target. I think that's really strong as well. So I wouldn't count them out. And with Judgment helping them replenish their entire hand, this is starting to look like a Droll-esque format. I'm just putting that out there. Phantom Knight's still sticking around at Ignister. One of the Ignister's issues right now is because Sprite can just run Pixies and run over your card. Biggest problem. And I am putting Ninjas here. Ninjas have a plus 20 combo, so you'll find out in the future. And there's a lot more decks. There's like Marine Sass. You might not have noticed that I wanted to put like Salamangreat in here too, but I can't because Salamangreat is more or less another just math mech deck. So they're very similar. And adding Ignister also kind of plays in a very similar fashion. You know, all those Cyberse decks are very similar, except for Marine Sass. They're their own category. As for any other decks, you guys feel free to leave it down in the comment section below where you believe your decks are. If you play branded in your deck, you're probably part of the branded variant. I know, there's so many decks that are viable in this game right now. Konami's been doing a pretty good job about that, but in terms of not touching Mystic Mine and killing Sprites so early, I don't know how I feel about that. As for the follow-up segment, I'm going to be working on deck lists and maybe combos just to help repair some of these decks. I mean, looking at Sprites because I'm personally playing Sprites a lot myself. But I'm also playing Kashtira. Guys, I have proxied the Kashtira stuff for you Patreons out there. The proxy sheets are available for you guys as early access, as part of your perks, of course. And don't forget to check out mstmerch.com if you guys want to feel Goku's Ultra Instinct energy at the tip of your, well, on your fingertips. Then this is the sleeve for you. It is beautiful, it is shiny, and you definitely want to get your hands on these. So check out mstmerch.com. Don't forget, Nishi's going to follow up with a Market Watch segment. I'm going to work on combos and deck list updates. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.